I'd see how fast I could go backwards out to the main road. So I'd drive backwards and I'd drive and, you know, looking back, and it's just because, I don't know, because I was a dork.
If a zombie apocalypse were to happen, what weapon would you travel with? Diarrhea just goes and smacks me in the face. Hello, fire team, and welcome to Shift Fire, an exploration and appreciation of all things military culture. I am one of your hosts, Cameron Fath. I'm a former Army Ranger, and with me, as always, the admirable, the extremely talented.
I am able to be admired. Yes, I'm Israel Wright, former Green Beret. It's great to be back with you folks. Today we're going to do an episode of Interrogating Cameron and Israel, where you ask us questions, we answer them to the best of our ability, or we completely ignore them and throw them out the window. Folks, before we get going, make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button so you can stay up with the latest and greatest with everything Shift Fire related. With that being said, let's answer. All right, Curtis O'Connell would like to know, what was the strangest thing you've caught someone doing on deployment or in the barracks?
That's a very tough question. I can't narrow it down because
there's so many strange things that people do.
Everybody in the military is
yeah,
at some extent a weirdo, and that's putting it nicely. When I first got to regiment, like the mortar section has like they're tough. Their infantry mortars are known as infantry mortar. The 11 Chucks, the tube strokers, the mortarmen. They're known for being the grimiest, grungiest, just most disgusting people in the world. And they take a lot of pride in it. I went to second bat with some 11 Chuck guys, so they went to the section, and as I'm like brand new private walking through the barracks, the mortars were on the bottom, but I had to pass by their open barracks rooms because it was just a long hallway in the barracks, and each room had like people in it, and it happened to be a Friday, so obviously everybody's getting turned up on the weekend. And you know, I saw one of the guys that I got there with taped to a chair with like duct tape over him, and the mortars were wasted around him, beating with a giant black. Obviously I saw that and I was just like, you're every man for himself, and I just like took off running to get to my safe new house of my little room, and I was like, that was pretty weird, but you know, nothing out of the ordinary.
I remember we did it was like a prep course before Robin Sage, where there was like a whole like couple weeks of like preparation. There was one guy out on patrol with us, you know, just towards the end of the patrol he just started walking funny. And we're like, what's going on, man? And he's like, oh, you know, I think he pooed his pants. I mean, just a full on, there's like, you know, you can do like a little bit, but it was like a full on. And we still had a couple miles to go, so he had to walk like that all the way back in. It's a good thing he lost his boots to keep it all inside, you know? Everybody knew about that.
Keep him nice and, I mean, that's not strange, that happens too.
You're talking about strange for the Army. You know, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the Army that may seem strange to a civilian.
I mean, dudes go out all the time on like a 5-mile run and come back with one saw. Like, that's just because, you know, you have to wipe with something.
Do it, man. Wait.
All right, that'll do. Oh, this is a long question. All right, this one comes from Joel Mellon. All right, Mr. Mellon wants to know, what's your favorite weapon in video games? Do you have any favorite weapons from the World War II era, Vietnam War era, or present day?
That's casting a wide net.
Very wide net, Mr. Mellon. World War II, I thought the MG42 was a badass machine gun that the Germans had. It was nicknamed Hitler's Buzzsaw because of its high rate of fire.
Was that the top loading one?
No, that was a Russian Soviet, and Chinese also had like a disc. Oh, in Alien. It's what the guys used on Alien.
Oh, the smart guns.
Yeah, the smart guns.
Oh, that's
MG42 on a camera tripod. That's what they did for that. And then going to Vietnam, the CAR-15, it was basically the M4 carbine, but it was shortened up in that conflict. Not to mention the M14 was like their kind of DMR system, their counter sniper system. Moving up to modern day, I'm slowly becoming a modern day AK guy. The AK-107 is, but I'm most in love right now with the MPX.
MPX?
Yeah, the SIG MPX. It's a 9mm subgun, and I think it tickled my fancy, if you will. But what about you, man?
Favorite weapons? I mean, to be honest, I have got more of a breadth of experiences with different firearms after leaving the Army, doing stuff like gameology and shift fire and things like that, than I ever did in the military. So obviously the one that's nearest and dearest to my heart is just the M4. I think we had like the SOP Mod 1.
Basic.
Yeah, that's it, man, because that's what I ran with, you know? Yeah. No, Mosin and Gone, really cool, sleek design, just because from my experiences with Tarkov, and it's one of like the basic weapons that you're sent out to get that you can use.
You can do work with that thing.
You have to be a marksman. You have to be, you know, good at what you do, because, you know, using that stuff back in the day, we didn't have all the fancy sights, you know, despite what Call of Duty Vanguard may may show you. We didn't have those fancy sights and red dot sights back then.
Back in my day, we called it iron sights.
Yeah, iron sights, yep. But actually, I've been playing a lot of, you're talking about video games specifically, I've been playing a lot of Apex Legends lately. I'm a fan of the R301, that's just a high rate of fire, submachine gun, light machine gun, and things like the Rampage. I like the steady rate of fire for the Rampage, that pop, 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 pop for Apex Legends, so that's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I've played, you want to ask me about video games, I could go all day, you know?
Nerd! One honorable mention, one super cool gun that's out right now that I really enjoyed shooting was the Flux Raider.
We get to shoot out with Haley in those guys.
When we worked with Haley, I got to work with the Flux a lot, and cue picture of a Flux right here. Very cool gun. Just wanted to bring that up. Your turn.
My turn? All right, let's do it. I feel like a lot of these answers, some of these questions we could go on all day.
Yeah.
Good questions, everybody. So, Jared Callowin wants to know, what was the worst thing you've experienced or seen that soldiers do to have sexual relief? I don't know about worse, but I mean, it's just shameless. The military is just so shameless, man.
Some of these dudes,
they gotta get it out.
They gotta
matter
get
where
with
they're
anything,
at.
with anything.
When I was going through the Q course in mid-early 2005, 2005, 2006 and stuff, there was the legend of the 82nd Airborne.
Mm-hmm.
There was a big scandal that broke where a couple of the 82nd Airborne 82nd Airborne soldiers were involved in a little bit of a porn scandal.
I actually heard about that.
Getting some secondary income. I guess maybe the Army doesn't pay enough, which we all know is true, to kind of augment their incomes. That is definitely the most outlandish thing I've ever heard going around somebody doing to satisfy their sexual desires.
Yeah, soldiers are dirty birds, man.
Dirty birds.
Yeah, they'll do anything for a story on Monday. All right, next question. Ooh, this is a hard one. Okay, I'm gonna try my best here. This question comes to us from Fazekas PK. And they want to know, what's the most funny accident you witnessed or were a part of? Well, I mean, a funny accident that I was a part of that ended up being actually pretty badass was I ended up accidentally drifting an LMTV on deployment. We broke down from our fire base and we were moving to another base pretty deep in the country, or at least, a couple hour drive. And I had all the equipment in the back of the LMTV, and then we had some civilian vans following in the convoy. And it was me and my private at the time. I was a gun team leader, and we're driving along the road, and I'm driving, and I start hearing this noise while I'm driving, and I'm like, is the parking brake on? And in the LMTV, the parking brake is literally just a button you push, and then all the brakes are ran by air. So I was like, what is that noise? So I thought the parking brake might have been on, so brain farted and actually ended up activating the parking brake while we're going 50 miles an hour. And the entire LMTV just starts going. I look out my passenger window and I see the vehicle behind us, and I'm like, we're literally sideways, and all of a sudden we're screaming, we're like, ah! And I unclip it, and the LMTV just goes whip and goes right back into place, and me and my private look at each other and we're like, yeah! That was badass, dude! And that was, I've never been more pumped up. It was super cool. I was like, did we just drift the LTV? So that was a funny accident I was part of.
A lot of the accidents that happened in the military with me were not very funny. I mean, you're talking about drifting and stuff like that. We would do our Echo training, which is the 18 Echo Communication Sergeant training out in kind of the backwoods of North Carolina. It was a little compound kind of away from everything else, and you kind of had to drive through some pretty rough roads to get there. And I had a 2005 Hyundai Accent, a little red 2005 Hyundai Accent. And I would whip through. I would just careen at 60 miles an hour through the woods and stuff. And there would be I remember this one time it had rained the day before, and there were all these puddles and stuff. And I would go so fast. I would be hydroplaning, with a little Hyundai Accent, through the woods and stuff. And then as a challenge to myself, I'd see how fast I could go backwards out to the main road. So I'd drive backwards, and I'd be like this, driving, looking back, and
obviously training.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Just because, I don't know, because I was a dork. Nothing bad ever happened, but talking about hydroplaning and drifting and stuff, the open road.
That's
just
freedom.
You're young, and you're excitable, and you just want to, I don't know, why not? Why not try it?
Next question.
Read it out, man. Is it me or you?
I think it's me, right? Death Angel 273 wants to know, how do you deal with diarrhea when you are deployed in combat?
A lot of poop.
A lot of poop, but that's
questions
okay.
on diarrhea. Wow.
You just either your pants,
Diarrhea.
pants, man. If you're in a combat situation, literally your pants.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yep.
Not me. It might smell a little bit, but I'd rather you be alive and covered in diarrhea than dead and also covered in diarrhea. One thing they don't tell you when you're doing a lot of medical stuff, diarrhea is like everywhere. I remember specifically, we had this one dude that came in, multiple gunshots on him, and he was laying on his side, and he had a gunshot wound in his ass cheek, and like so. I'm sitting there packing this dude's ass, like I am knuckle deep in this man's ass cheek, just with gauze. And the surgeon comes up to me, his name is Alex. He comes over, puts some gloves on, and you know, I learned a lot about surgery when I was there, and I didn't have any surgery experience. I was an RFR, Ranger First Responder, you know, knew a lot about trauma care, but they just needed hands. So I'm like packing this dude's ass cheek, and Alex comes up, his gloves on, and puts his fingers in the guy's butthole, because for internal bleeding, if you have rectal swelling, you can tell that the dude's up inside. So he's like in there, and he's probably like this close to me, like reaching in this guy's beehole, and he like pulls his finger out super fast, and diarrhea just goes and smacks me in the face, and I'm like working. It's already stupid that I'm literally knuckle deep in a man's butt cheek, and like now I have diarrhea all over my face. And I freaked out. I was like, get your finger out of my face!
These questions are being asked because I think there's an assumption maybe from people who don't know that like if you're in like a combat situation, somehow it might be important that you like maybe
like hold on,
go in your pants or whatever.
Like time out. Yeah, I have to poop.
It does not matter, man. If you're in a situation, deployment, if you're out doing a mission, man, that stuff you just live with it, man. Because you can always go back, take a shower, take a bath, wash your clothes.
Either poop your pants or have guys pull security while you just shoot it out real quick.
Yeah, I mean,
you got one of two options here.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
your turn or my
turn?
I don't think it matters at this point.
No, man. We both answer, so just C. Dion. C. Dion.
Celine Dion?
No, C. Dion.
It is my day of lucky.
We'll go on. Instead of military service, let's talk about the academy. What was the most memorable event that happened at the academy/boot camp? Okay, so maybe the academy.
The academy?
Maybe that's another word for basic training. Boot camp, basic training. One of my fondest memories was the day you drive down the lane in a big old bus. You got all your stuff with you. You got your uniforms on. You got your duffel bag full of all your issued gear. And then there was the shark attack, you know, where it was the drill sergeants all attacking the bus. They're climbing all over it. They're biting at you. No, they get in the bus, then they yell at you, and they take your stuff and they throw it outside, and they tell you to run. They're giving us like a very kind of a shock treatment, stressful thing. I'm not sure they do that anymore.
I don't know if they do that anymore. They did that for us, yeah.
Yeah, they did for us. So I remember that happening, and it was very exciting because you hear about it. You're like, all right, this is it, you know. And I was with a platoon of guys that were all just really excited to be in the military, man. They wanted all of the classic experiences, so they were like talking about the shark attack. So when that happened, that was like very cool, and we were all very excited, and they were running down this lane. So I had my duffel bag on my shoulder right there, and then I saw one guy, he was being harassed by one of the drill sergeants, and he dropped his duffel bag. And I felt bad for him, so just instinctively, right behind him, I picked up his duffel bag with one hand, and I was running with it, and another guy came up behind me and grabbed the opposite strap of the duffel bag, so we carried it together. So between us,
yeah, that's so nice.
And we go down there and they smoke us, and then they go. So, but what I didn't realize is this guy tells me afterwards, he's like, man, I thought you were like the coolest dude, man, because I saw you running with 2 duffel bags, and that inspired me. I wanted to come up and help you, and he just got this really like positive, inspired impression of me from like that day one, and I didn't even know it until like weeks later. But it was just kind of a cool thing to know that, like, you know, just something I wasn't even thinking about. Like somebody saw that, they're like, this guy's awesome. And it was just a cool basic training memory.
I think one of the coolest things, or like a good memory I had is, I forgot what it's called, but at one point in time you do this like, I don't know if it's like 100-meter low crawl. You know, you actually have like live 240 shooting over your head. It's a confidence course. So then you have to low crawl, and I was like the first guy to finish it, because like you start in these bunkers and you crawl over like World War I, and you have to like literally low crawl while 240s are ripping over your head. And yeah, I was the first guy to finish. I was super proud of that. I was like, yeah, I'm cool, man, let's go. All right, this question comes to us from Z. Dayan, and they want to know, instead of military service, let's talk about the academy. Do you
I put it back in there. I'm sorry. Get it in there. I'm sorry. All right, let's try it again.
The actual question comes to us from Jacob Meathead. I'm assuming they are a meathead.
Oh, the Staten Island meatheads.
Yes, and he wants to know, have there ever been cases of romantic relationships in your unit/detachment? Are you saying like man on man? Not that I've encountered, man. I only knew one, and when I say knew of one gay man in Ranger Regiment. He was a medic, but I heard he was an excellent medic, but never like, trying to think. Usually it was like, there was one time on deployment where we were taking it over from 175, and there was this female medic from the big army that was there as well, and like one of his guys we saw him like scurry away somewhere with her, and they went in the striker and they were like doing the thing, you know, and it was like some real scandalous thing, because like the person who was in charge of her was like some lieutenant colonel, and she was like banging on the Ranger doors, and she's like, where is she? Like she immediately knew it was like us. Like she's like f***ing around with these Ranger guys.
After I got through like training and stuff, I was around a lot of kind of older guys that were either in relationships, they were married and stuff. But I was in a relationship for a very short period of time leading up to my first deployment. Very lovely girl, Kelly, who is, we broke up after I deployed. So she's nice. It was all right. She's married. She's got a kid. She's doing all right. But that was like I only had like a really brief. I haven't had very many long relationships. Maybe I should talk to somebody about that. Yeah,
soldiers are scandalous. That's the thing that they don't tell you. Because like when I was in airborne school, everybody was like, there was this rumor that like people were having like 3-ways in the airborne tower, and like
I think it's something about you're in a restricted environment. It's
like people like to break the rules.
Yeah, break the rules, the taboos and things like that. So they, for whatever reason, maybe a bunch of reasons, that they want to break out, they want to get crazy.
Yeah, soldiers are horny dogs. That's the only thing.
One thing I can tell you about being a soldier is it's very hard on relationships. Like there's a high divorce rate in the military. They say the hardest job in the Army is being an Army wife, because you got to take care of the family, you got to do all this stuff, and then your husband's going to be gone for 6-8 months. Coming back from deployment, then they're off training maybe sometimes.
Don't forget about our Army husbands too. There's that.
Yeah, I've watched Army wives. The Army husbands, we salute you as well.
Yeah.
Army spouses.
Yeah, that's a hard job. Kudos to you.
There's 2 of those. Oh, this is a big one.
That's a big boy.
I think it's just double space. Calzato asks, have you ever been in close quarters combat, like throwing fists or a knife fight? If so, were you alone at the time, or did a buddy come and save you? Well, as if I needed to be saved if I was in a knife fight. Come on, man, what are you trying to say? For me, no. No, I was never involved in any kind of life or death, life-threatening close quarters battles, anything like that. I did close quarters maneuvers. I did a lot of that stuff in Iraq, in the cities, Zero Dark 30 kind of stuff. But the operations that I did kind of went by the books. We didn't really have any kind of a wild, crazy knife fight. Yeah.
Similar for me. I mean, my deployment, like I said, or probably like I've talked about before, there wasn't a lot of, direct action raiding where Rangers are used to. I mean, all other deployments, like going to Afghanistan, you're knocking down doors and you're clearing rooms. That's what Rangers do. But this one was a super weird deployment because like we were more of a advisor role where we were, so we weren't actually doing like crazy house-to-house action, unfortunately. So yeah, no, I've never been in that type of situation. We trained a lot for it though. We did a lot of building clearing. We did a lot of Battle Drill 6, which is enter building, clear a room. We did a lot of combatives for PT and whatnot, but can't say that I've punched the dude till he's dead. Okay, Jordan Richard wants to know, if a zombie apocalypse were to happen, what weapon would you travel with? Easy answer, samurai sword.
Samurai sword.
Yeah,
just like Michonne.
Yeah, just like Michonne from Walking Dead. You just have to sharpen it. You can take heads clean off with that thing. It's not too heavy. It's extremely precise, and not to mention it's silent, because noise attracts zombies. As long as you are physically fit and you can keep swinging that thing, I think you're solid.
It depends on the kind of zombie apocalypse, right? We got to get our lore straight. If it's the slow, shambling kind of Walking Dead zombies, that's one thing. But if it's like the fast World War Z type zombies where they're running after you,
that's gonna be hard. Yeah. And I'd want some machine gun stuff. So yeah, what kind of zombie apocalypse is really important.
Yeah.
But obviously I'd have a firearm on me because I'm not just defending against zombies. I'm gonna be fighting other people too.
We all know that we are the real monsters.
Yeah, humans are the real monsters. The zombies are just it's all just a metaphor
for humans, crazy for humanity. But
we hope they answered that question.
Yeah, like an axe or a sword or something like that. Last one?
Yeah, last one.
All right, Ethan Moore, you're the last one, baby. Ethan Moore wants to know, what was the least dangerous thing you came across that still scared you? Probably camel spider. Actually, I can't say I was like scared, but like it was just this fascinating incident. This very giant, very large spider just crawling across my path one night when I was at the base. But the least dangerous thing you came across that still scared you? I like the contrast with that because you freak out and you're like, well, it wasn't really that bad at all, you know.
Yeah, you know, it is kind of like frightful, even in like training when you are doing building clearing and like you're going in, especially when you're wearing night vision. At night, your depth perception is off, so things appear way closer than they are when they are. When you go in really fast and turn a corner and somebody's there, it like frightens you a little bit. So that was scary. I remember my team leader was the first man walking into a building during like a FMP that we were doing. FMP is just like full mission profile. We're just running a practice raid. And like we go inside and he like turns around and there's someone acting as Op 4 like literally behind the door, and he goes in and turns and he keeps button hooking, and all of a sudden I just hear him go, ah! The guy scared the shit out of him. And yeah, people pop up out of nowhere. It's nuts. But yeah, I guess another scary thing that happened that wasn't dangerous were sometimes in SOF you like they hire people to play like Op 4, and one time they hired like this triple amputee to play like a blast victim, and we're always used to using dummies. Yeah, you know where this is going. And like literally this guy's like in there, and like my buddy's like searching the room, the guy's on the floor, and he's like, and you know, we're clearing and we see the dude and we think he's a dummy because he obviously has his arm and leg blown off. And he's just like, yeah, just move that dummy, man, get him out of the way. So he like literally goes and tries to kick him out of the way, and the guy's like, hey, I'm real, and he's like, ah! Yeah, dude, that was a fun one. That's all the questions we have for you folks. Thanks for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to our answers. We enjoyed answering them, I can promise you that. Make sure you like this video. Hop in the comments section. Tell us questions that you want to hear on future episodes of Interrogating Cam and Israel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up on the latest and greatest from all things from Shiftfire. That's it, Fire Team. See you on the next one. And appreciation of all things military culture.
Wait, can I stop you? Can you just say welcome back to Shiftfire? Because we're not an episode of Shiftfire. I said that too, I realized this.
Okay, yeah, I'll do it again.
We're doing welcome back to Shiftfire and then an episode of.
Way to go, Kenny. Stand on top of it. He's going between us like we're talking. That's awesome.
Sorry, man.
All right. What's going on, Fire Team?